All right, what's up, PEL fans, owners, and lovers? Commish Ace Coach 704, PEL, Primetime Elite League, bringing it back again for Madden 19. We're going to run through this live show tonight. Well, it's not really live, it's pre-recorded because I've got to go so many places over the next few days doing my high school football previews for Carolina Varsity based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're pre-recording this, but typically this would be a live show, but I'm going to release it at 10 o'clock on Tuesday night for your enjoyment. All right, so first off, talk about a little bit about what I'm going to do tonight. We're going to talk about the new rules because I released all those wonderful videos a few weeks back. And actually it's already been updated. The rules have been updated on the league website. So, if you didn't have a chance to look at all the rule videos, I did update the rules on the website, and actually they're broken down in the same way the videos did. So you can just scroll through there and read through the league rules if you haven't had a chance already. But I am going to go through some of the new rules tonight, and then we're going to introduce our owners. Now, I will say your name. For some of you that are new, I don't really know you that well. And I'll throw in a little tidbit that I've heard or such, and we'll kind of keep it moving. For the ones that I do know, of course, I'll share a little bit about, their play style, the way they are, if I like them or not, all that good stuff. And then we'll finish up with a little bit of a league preview where I'm going to kind of go through the divisions, give you a feel of who I think is going to do well, maybe a little surprised, some of the picks that I make, and, it'll lean towards the people that I know, and some of the things I've heard about the new guys, because pretty much everyone here I've talked to in some capacity. So I kind of have an idea of how I think they're going to do in the league. Okay. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road. First off, and I'm just going through rules that I've, already talked about, but I just want to highlight real quick. The scheduling chat, is another way of scheduling your game. And, the main thing with that is please make sure that one team does post in the scheduling chat when your game is going to be played. And that's going to be something that we, continue to stress and talk about, because we want to use that to make sure everybody knows when games are going to be played, and we can keep the league moving in a quick fashion, because you guys know that's what, I like to do in the PEL. We do say 48 hours, but we like to advance as soon as we possibly can if all games are settled. So please make sure that you're using that scheduling chat. If you're not using it, we're going to keep harping on it until you do use it. And, at first will be nice because it's something new, but it's going to get to a point where, we're not going to check in, like we did last year every week in advance. It took too much time. It took too much to hunt people down to play. If it's not in the scheduling chat, we're going to assume it's a sim, and we're going to keep it moving, okay? Other new stuff on the trade rules, no trade committee, unlimited trades, the PEL franchise player rules back, top 3 players overall on your roster per daddy leagues cannot be traded. The new thing with this is you do have the one-time franchise player waiver that you can use once every 3 years, and I'll be tracking that, okay? The other new thing is there is a limit of 2 first-round picks you can have as a maximum, okay? So you can't go and get 4 first-round picks. We already been through that. And trades will be off during the draft, and that's something new to make sure that people do not violate that first-round pick rule especially. Okay? Also new, roster rules. Kickers and punters in the preseason do not apply toward your one free agent signing. So if you need a kicker or a punter in the preseason, you can go ahead and sign them. That's not a problem. Other new thing, players cannot be cut and immediately re-signed for salary purposes. That was voted on by the league. Anytime you cut a player, he must be in free agency for a week before being eligible to be re-signed. All right. And that'll be tracked, of course, by league management. The other new thing on rosters, in free agency in the offseason, all players that are bid on must be at least a 50-point bid. Okay. This is to prevent unrealistic contracts being signed for free agents. So that was the main purpose behind that. All right. The other new thing, moving on to the next part, complaints. We do have 2 co-commissioners assigned for taking gameplay complaints. That's Cody, that's the Cardinals, and Ramon, the Rams. Make sure you send when the complaint happened in the game, and those times must be submitted with your complaint. If they are not submitted with your complaint, we do not have time to go and search for when something happened, and it will be thrown out. Okay? And then the co-commish, whether it's Cody or Ramon, will then review it, and they'll report to the league management. We have our separate chat where we discuss these issues, and then I'll follow up with the resolution upon a decision being made. Okay, so that's a new process there for complaints. So the complaint form doesn't exist anymore. Gameplay rules, a couple new things. Wide receivers are allowed a maximum of 10 catches and 250 yards. That yardage was increased from 200 yards from some feedback we received the last couple years. Linebackers are allowed up to 9 interceptions in one season. If you get 10 as your warning, and anything past that starts the suspensions. If you continue to get suspensions, of course, you're subject to being booted from the league. Okay? And we all know the purposes behind that. We're trying to cut down on all the user, linebacker stuff. Although I've seen it's a little more tricky, this year in some game videos for Madden 19. A couple new things. Once your quarterback, I'm going to modify this one. I had rolls outside of the hashes. I'm going to change that to once your quarterback rolls outside of the numbers, the quarterback must run with the ball. Okay. That's what I was really intending. I just got my verbiage wrong. So that'll be changed. Quarterback rolling outside of the numbers, the yardage numbers on the field. They must run with the ball once you get outside that wide. Okay. Everything else as far as gameplay on this slide is pretty much the same stuff. No changes to 4th down rules on mercy rules or conceding. Pretty much the same stuff there. The one thing I do want to talk about real quick, and this is going to kind of lead into the next thing, which is the owner introductions. There's a little bit of insight into your league management team. Starting with myself, Commish Ace Coach 704. My real name is Matt, if you didn't know. I coached football on the high school level for 13 years. I was an offensive line coach. I was a JV head coach. I was a varsity offensive coordinator and an assistant head coach. In my real life, I work as a safety, security, and investigation supervisor for a group of hotels here in Charlotte. And as I mentioned before, I work for CarolinaVarsity.com, covering high school football in the Charlotte metro area. I do have another YouTube channel. My main YouTube channel has almost 300 subscribers. We do interviews, highlights, game analysis videos. And for those reasons, I take sim football very seriously, and we will try to adapt that to Madden as much as we can in real life. So I'll move on to our league management team. These guys have done a great job. We talk, when we talk about things, everyone gets a chance to weigh in with an opinion. They believe in the PEL, and sim football and all the things that we do. And, that's the reason why they're part of this, management team. Associate Commissioner Jeff. Jeff is the Jaguars, and he's been the longest tenured guy. He was here, and when this all started in Madden 16, we were called the League of Legends, which is the most dumbest name ever. One day I'll give you guys the background of how all this got started. But Jeff is very passionate about sim football, and out of anyone in the league, I think he'll admit when he's wrong. he's demonstrated that throughout the past 3 years. I've had to suspend him before, and he's accepted it, and he'll come back and he'll apologize and he'll correct whatever might have caused him to be wrong in the first place. And for those of us that have been here, Jeff has always been pro PEL and pro the league before anything else. And he's gone through some tough stuff, and he still is going through some tough stuff. If he wants to share it, I'll let him share it. But I admire him for his strength through everything he's gone through, the past couple of years especially. And he'll always have a spot here if he wants to be here. Cody, like I said, is the Cardinals. He's a gameplay commissioner. He also does a great job in creating graphics and videos when that time comes. He also came up with the idea of the pre-draft roundtable, which is one of the best things that we do in the PEL, and we open it up to anyone that wants to join in on that with the share chat through the PS4. And I know he'll be a new father very soon, so please congratulate him if you haven't done so already. And I like him being here a lot. He's brought a lot to us. Co-commissioner Kyle. Kyle is the Giants this year. He's been along for about as long as Cody, and I'll tell you, Kyle, when he got here, was terrible. And he made himself into a pretty good player over the years. And there's actually a couple guys that have, done that. They start out, kind of struggling, and then they make themselves into a pretty good player. And that's the biggest thing that I love to see in the PEL is, sticking with it and then becoming better and then getting that payoff when you become, really good. Kyle brings experience from being a commissioner himself. And, his insight is valued in making decisions for the betterment of the PEL for sure. Co-commissioner Ben. Ben is the Atlanta Falcons this year. And, talking about making turnarounds, Ben made probably the biggest turnaround from losing a ton in Madden 17. And he won the Super Bowl in year 1 last year in Madden 18 with the Seahawks. And his dedication to the PEL has been great. He has the most positive attitude when it comes to the league. And, I said, he need to be promoted to a co-commish, just for everything he's done. So that's why he's part of this team right here. And then finally, last but not least, co-commissioner Ramon. Y'all know Ramon has been the Browns, the past few years. He's always had a positive attitude, even when, I fussed at him about something. He always takes it in stride. Very, very positive when dealing with league issues and affairs. And his experience of being here, I think has been very valuable. And it's something that we need as we progress forward with issues. And he's the other gameplay commish on that side of thing, handling complaints and things of that nature. So we're glad to have him. And, I always joke. Once I found out his name was Ramon, I immediately got scared of him. Because anyone named Ramon knows how to whoop ass. So I try not to piss him off too much. All right, so that's our league management team. And that's going to take me into talking about all of you wonderful owners here in the PEL. And once I find my list, we will get started on that subject. Here we go. All right, so we're going to start in the AFC East. And I know 2 of these guys, pretty decently well. And then 2 of them I really don't know. Hopefully you guys can kind of fill in the blanks, on this. The Bills are led by E. Warren 24, who I think I've talked to at some point. But I don't know much about him. But I can tell you that the Bills were used by me last year, and they are a team that has some good pieces, but you do have to make moves with them. And it'll be interesting to see if he decides to start Josh Allen with that strong arm, or if he's going to go with someone else and maybe make a trade. Expecting to really lean on the running game early on. But defensively, everybody remembers Trey White turned into a monster last year. After his first year, he did so well. So that'll be something to watch how he develops up in Buffalo. The Patriots led by Jeff Kane. Of course, we know Jeff very well. Jeff's one of the good guys here. He's been dedicated since he came along, and I think he came in early in Madden 17, I believe. And the big thing with Jeff is, once he gets going on offense, he can be tough to stop. Very much of a rhythm passer. Defensively, he's going to come after you with reckless abandon. And, you have a chance to make plays over the top. And then sometimes if you don't get that ball off, or, it's a situation where you don't expect a blitz, it can be tricky. So with the talent the Patriots already have, I think he's got a good chance to, be the early leader in this division in year one. The Dolphins led by Ken T. I honestly don't know much about you, man. I know you came by the recommendation of, Big Main Lee Seals. So I know you're a good person. That's the main thing we look for in here, are good people with good attitudes that just want to play good sim football. You look at the Dolphins team overall, there's a reason why they were available, man. They got, a couple nice things, with Devontae Parker at receiver. And, oh man, I would try to trade some stuff and build for year two, in Miami, because I know they're one of the least, desired teams right now, but, we'll see, how that shakes out. He might be a very good player, and, you overcome that stuff. All right, and that brings me to the Jets, and Buenissimo, I believe is how that's pronounced. And, he was here last Madden for a little bit. And, I thought he was a very good passer in the games that I saw on the stream. I know some people commented that he was a very good user linebacker player. I didn't play him, but I'll, just throw that out there, as a grain of salt, if you're going to play him. The Jets, I think have some good pieces, especially Adams at safety is a very good piece. So Sam Darnold will probably be the quarterback, and, we'll see how that develops. I think they can develop into a pretty good team, but you're obviously going to focus on offense when your first draft. So you jump to the AFC North. The Bengals are led by Governor 504, who was the Rams last Madden, and he was in a hell of a division. That NFC West was ridiculous last year. I played him a couple times, and he's not a bad player. He just had it really rough last Madden, so. With the Bengals, they have some pieces. Of course, John Ross, everybody loves his speed. AJ Green is still there. Andy Dalton, I still hate him. But the Bengals have some pieces, and they could make some noise. But he's in another pretty tough division here. You look at the Steelers, led by Abe Page. He was the Colts last Madden, and this is another guy that blitzes with abandon. And, when he blitzes, he likes to put speed on the edge. And then when that heat comes, it comes at half a second even faster, just by the way it's schemed up. So you have to be really smart and anticipate it, especially in early down situations. He tends to be a little more conservative on third down. But he will bring the heat. And then offensively, he did a really good job running a two-back system and giving those guys equal carries last year when he had the Colts. So with the Steelers, I think, of course, you'll be a little more focused on Le'Veon. Very talented team that was available late in the process. So I was kind of surprised that they were available. But I expect him to do a pretty good job with those guys. Browns led by Tristan. Of course, Tristan was the, what was he, the Vikings last year, I believe, or the Chiefs? No, he was the Chiefs. I'm sorry. I'm thinking 2 Maddens ago. The Chiefs, had a lot of talent, acquired with draft picks. But with the Browns, of course, you got a lot of young talent already there. So it's a situation where you're going to let that young talent play. And, I think, Tristan's a good player. And, the Browns, I always think the Browns are overrated in Madden anyway. But, we'll see how that comes out. But they're going to develop really well. So I think he's got a team that's going to really grow well for the long term there. And then the Ravens are led by Caleb, and he had the second pick in the team draft, and the Ravens were his first choice. And, I learned that it was for Lamar Jackson. And, it's an elite talent. I mean, I really can't, fault you for that. The main thing is, we obviously know he's going to start. So Flacco will probably be available if you're really desperate for a quarterback. The Ravens do have some holes in other places that, you're going to have to, try to shore up. User linebacker, he's really good at that skill. So I expect, that position to be a strong one for the Ravens. All right, and you jump to the AFC South. You've got the Titans, led by Scooby. This team was led by Cody the past couple years. But, Scooby did a really good job in Pittsburgh. And I'm going to tell you, one of the secrets was he upped his man coverage for linebackers. Now, if you don't know, you cannot increase individual attributes this year in Madden 19. They're kind of changing how you upgrade players. So it's going to be interesting to see how people adjust to that. So he won't be able to increase that man coverage so much, which helped in his coverage schemes. Offensively, he does really well, out of the shotgun usually. I expect probably a little more mobility with Mariota. He does like to throw the ball a good bit. But I think he'll do well. And that Titans team is one that I believe is a little underrated. The Colts were the last team selected, and that's led by Trey. And Trey's been here, I think, the last 3 years. And he's always, been dedicated while he's here and done a really good job. And, getting his games done. He's a really good guy. Doesn't really, get too upset about anything. Pretty even keeled. And, we're glad to have him back, once again here for Madden 19 in the PEL. The Jags are led by Jeff. I just talked about Jeff, but as far as a player, he's a D-line user. He will get to the quarterback using that D-line. Throwing the ball, you always got to be aware of the deep ball because you know it's going to come. I've played Jeff so many times, I could probably call out the plays that he likes to use in certain situations. And he could probably do the same for me if he wanted to. But, Jeff's always been a really good player. He'll load up on veterans in free agency. And he does like to trade. And I would caution you, do not trade with this man. Because you're usually going to end up getting the worst part of the deal. Once you do that. But, I've said enough about Jeff already. The Texans are led by Levi. And Levi, I think, under the old system, was one of the best at developing players. I think this new system is going to, challenge that ability a little bit. But offensively, he's pretty balanced, I think. Defensively, he's one of the better ones in terms of usering for sure. The Texans, that's another team that's got some good talent. Of course, Deshaun Watson at quarterback will be a beast with Hopkins on the outside. And then defensively, anytime you got a 6'4" linebacker, I think his last name is McKinney, if I remember correctly. I think that's going to cause a lot of problems in the middle of the field right there. So that's going to be a really good division right there in the AFC South for sure. You jump to the AFC West. You got Deontay and the Chargers. Everyone that's been here knows how good Deontay is. The Chargers are his hometown team. They're an underrated team to use. I use them in Madden 17, and I like some of the pieces they have, especially on defense. Those linebackers and Perryman and Brown, he uses those guys really well. Offensively, he'll run the football a good bit. He's just a really, really good player. User ability on defense. I would say conservative on offense, but there are times where he'll take shots when you don't expect it and, get big plays out of it. So overall, he's a really good player, a really good guy to talk to. He will get upset. Things don't go his way, but eventually he calms down and he's good. All right. The Broncos' most hated, one of the new guys. Welcome to the league. He's talked a good bit in chat, and the few times I've talked to him in DM, I think he'll be a good dude. A very big believer in sim football, which is really good to have here. That's what we really want. I think he said he's an 8-8 player, and usually those guys that say they're 8-8 are usually at least 11-5 every year. So with the Broncos, the Broncos have a really good secondary, and I think you can use that to your advantage offensively. Picking up Keenum at quarterback will help them out. Those receivers are getting a little older. I think you'll have to build from that going forward as you move through the league. Chiefs are led by Shoebox, and obviously you're talking about using linebackers. This is the guy that does it the best here in the PEL, in my opinion. I saw him talking about the new rule and saw he's going to use multiple linebackers. And, it won't be a problem for him because he can take about any linebacker with decent speed and turn them into a really good user linebacker. So I would avoid the middle of the field when you play him. Offensively, this is another guy that likes to, run the football, especially with a mobile quarterback. It'll be interesting to see how he uses Mahomes. Mahomes is more of a traditional pocket guy. But he can throw the football too. So, he's adaptable with his game, and it'll be good to see. Tyreek Hill, expect him to have big years. He's already a monster. And he'll use him to the best of his abilities. And then, of course, you got Blake with the Raiders, who has taken on his John Gruden persona very seriously, which is always fun. Blake on offense is a traditional guy. He likes to get in, what we call two-back. I think it's 21 personnel, but it's two backs, I formation. Running the football, play action off of it, that kind of stuff. Defense, he'll use her D-line. Very big in the sim gameplay. And, very big in the rules being followed. And, that's something that, I really, like. Although the complaints I know will come. I know they come from a place where the rules have to be followed. So, that's why, it's good to have that in here. And, Blake has always been, dedicated to the league. And he just wants to make sure that everyone does the right thing at the right time. And he will definitely, number one, call you out if you're not doing it. And then number two, he'll let me know in the proper way. So we're good to have him here. And that's going to be a really fun division to watch out there in the AFC West. Now, you jump over to the NFC, and you start with the NFC East. You got the Eagles led by Jace. Eagles were a late pick because Jace was new to the league, and they were available, the Super Bowl champs, which I'm shocked because I think they're rated as the best team in the game. So, Jace got a really good deal in getting the Eagles in a late pick because he wasn't involved in the team draft, of course, and that was 22 people. I don't know much about him. I think we talked once in DM. He seemed to be a pretty decent guy. So if y'all can fill me in on, his game, once you see this, that'd be great. But they got a really good team. So, of course that puts them at the top of expectations in that NFC East. You go to the Giants and Kyle, the big thing with him, he's excited to get the Giants because of Saquon Barkley, of course, who was rated very, very well for a rookie running back. And he will run the football. That's the big thing. I think that Giants offense is made perfectly for him because he'll throw it. He'll focus in on a couple guys, and the Giants have a couple guys on the outside, and Odell and Sterling Shepard and those guys that can make plays. And then defensively, this is another guy that uses the linebacker pretty well. I don't know about the Giants linebackers offhand. I think they traded for Ogletree. I think he's pretty decent, so I'd expect him to be a pretty good user. But, the Giants, of course, have some holes being having the number 2 pick in the league. So I would expect him to do pretty well over time once he's had time to develop that team and fill in, some holes in key spots. The Redskins are led by Ragjob. This is Ragjob's team. This was the only guy that wanted the Redskins, and that'll be a theme coming down the line here in a little bit. But you look at the Redskins, there hasn't been too much said about them. They signed was it Alex Smith in the offseason, and he's a decent guy. They got a couple of threats. Jameson Crowder at receiver, Josh Norman at corner are pretty good players. Trent Williams at left tackle is pretty good, but I think the Redskins need a little more help, and Ragjob is a really good drafter. Every time, we draft, he always picks like 3 or 4 guys that are on my list. I know they end up being pretty good, so those are the big things with Ragjob. Also, he likes to throw in the flats a lot, so just play cover 2 and you're gonna win. It's an inside joke. All right, and then moving on, you got the Cowboys led by Big Maine, who was so happy to get the Cowboys. He's been wanting them for years, and he finally was able to get them through the team draft process. He also brought in a number of these new guys in here, so thank you for that. Big Maine, Lee Seals, goes by either one of those names. I usually don't do this, but I know he has another league, and I'm only doing it because I know he's a good guy. I don't get along with many in the Madden community, mainly because I see things a little differently. But Big Maine, has a lot of the same ideals that I have. So, and I know a lot of you, play in his league also. So, he's a good guy to have around, and he's been dedicated to the league the last couple of years. All right, so a couple of years back, it was always something different. And I want to jump to another video here, but anyway, there was always something different that you would have to face, every time you played them. And then let's jump to the NFC. The NFC North. The Lions led by Martell. He was the Chiefs late in Madden 18, and he had a really good team that he came into. But the big thing with him is he was available. He played his games. I saw some of the games he played. Pretty good on defense. Wasn't a great user, but he did. He took away spots pretty well on based on the coverages he was playing. And then offensively, more conservative than anything. He didn't really throw it around a ton, but that kind of style can win you a lot of games, and he did pretty well in the time that he did play with the Chiefs last Madden. The Vikings are led by Aaron. Aaron was I think it was the Packers last year, or I can't remember. But the big thing with Aaron is Aaron will throw the ball. He will definitely throw the heck out of the football, and he'll play a lot of zone coverage. A little bit on the edge of that percentage of 70-30, yes. So you know what's coming most of the time. But those are the big two things with Aaron, and he's gonna stick to his guns, pretty much, no matter what the situation is. Agape is leading with the Packers, and Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the game overall. Agape likes to run a lot of, this is a little unusual, but he'll run a lot of man coverage, and, he'll, kind of free play the middle of the field off that man coverage. And if it's something that you're not used to, it's hard to adjust because it's not a style that you see a lot of. And then offensively, I'd say he's a West Coast guy, short passing game, and the run coming off of that. The Bears are led by the crazy one who's been here a couple years, and he is a Bears fan, and he got his team once again, I think the second year in a row. I think he's very good defensively. The times I've played him, he's always done well in slowing me down and taking me from the things that I like to do. Offensively, he's always been handicapped by quarterbacks. Of course, Chicago has not had the best quarterbacks the past couple of years, and I think it's hurt him. Trubisky, we'll see if he's better this year. And then getting playmakers to go with that has always been the Achilles heel, for him on offense. NFC South, you got myself. I'm the Panthers, and no one else wanted the Panthers either. So no matter where I picked in the draft, I was going to have the Panthers. That's my hometown team. I am from Charlotte. I live in Charlotte. The big thing, if I had to scout myself, I do like to throw the football. I'm a spread guy. Is what I coached in high school primarily. I think I run more of a vertical offense than most people. I'm not to the extent of Jeff, but, I do like to get the ball downfield. Speed. We do have good speed with the Panthers, and we'll be looking to get that into space, a couple different ways. Defensively, I've actually adapted my game to a user linebacker. And I don't really like it, but it's kind of one of those things that you have to adapt to when you're playing Madden. But I will use her D-line, in some situations. I like to mix it up. And one thing I used to be a big zone guy, and now I've gone more man, and then I've mixed in some blitzing too, which I didn't used to do very much. But I try to keep it as sim as possible when I play. I don't really have money plays and stuff like that, so it'll be a fun team to use. I like the way the Panthers are built this year. The Falcons are led by Ben. Of course, the Falcons, we know the talent that they have, on the offensive side with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and it pains me to say that. But I am going to be honest here. And the running back combo of Freeman and Coleman, Ben likes to run the football, so that'll be tough to stop. And then defensively, it starts with Jones in the middle. He is a heck of a linebacker. And then the corners are not bad, and Trufant and I think it's Samuel is the other guy. And then Neal at safety. So the Falcons have some good talent. And that's why they're a good team. And then Ben, he likes to run the football. And then defensively, he had Seattle last year, so you didn't have to do much. I think in Atlanta, maybe it'll be a little bit more of a challenge. But we'll see. And then you jump to the Saints and Reggie. I used to play Reggie a lot when I was the Panthers in Madden 16. And then, Reggie is more of a runner, but, he can throw the football in certain situations that'll hurt you. Really from closed formations are the main thing. And that's one of the Saints. I think he uses the Saints playbook. That's one of the things they feature in their playbook are those tight formations. They didn't running the stuff off of that. Defensively, more of a zone guy. He'll bring the heat every now and then. But, overall, Reggie's a good guy to have in the league. I've never had any problems out of him. I know he's an avid softball player too. So if you want to talk softball, you talk softball with Reggie. And then the Bucks are led by Will the Beast. He's done a lot of talking, being new, but I appreciate that. Giving me some insight. Says he likes to run the football, and like I said, running the football gives you a chance in our league for sure. Defensively, he says he's a D-line user. So it's kind of similar to Blake, who was the Bucks the past couple years. Blake ran the football, and he was a D-line user. So, the Buccaneers with Jameis Winston, I think they have a new rookie running back in Jones. I think it's going to be pretty good. Of course, Mike Evans is tough to stop on the outside. And then defensively, you look at McCoy and Levante David at linebacker. Those guys are tough as well. So there won't be a pushover for sure in Tampa Bay. And then last but certainly not least is the NFC West. The Cardinals are led by Cody this year. Cody, I think does a really good job of being balanced on offense. And then defensively, he is another good linebacker user. And then I think the Cardinals on defense are underrated, man. You got Deion Buchanan there, who's a really good user linebacker, and you got Peterson on the outside, who's of course the top corner. Offensively, Johnson at running back was going to be a beast, and I'm sure he'll lean on him as he led. He used to lean on Henry and the other guy in Tennessee. Murray. It was Murray last year, but now he's retired. Anyways, he'll do a good job with the Cardinals. The Rams, Ramon, was the Browns the past couple years. Like I said before, the Rams are his real life team, and the Rams are absolutely loaded. I mean, if I had to pick an NFC favorite right now, it would be him, because the talent on that team is ridiculous, and he's already a very good user linebacker player. Offensively, he likes to run the football. He's got Todd Gurley. I mean, it's going to be hell, trying to stop him at least the first couple years, and maybe some of those guys get old and have to get re-signed. Now, when you talk about the draft, this dude will take a projected 6th-round pick first round, and he'll end up being a superstar player with an 82 overall rating, and it just drives you up the damn wall. So I'm going to tell you now, if you have somebody in the draft that you really like, and they're a projected 6th-round guy, take his ass in the first round before him. Just a word of advice. The Seahawks are led by Garrett, who played briefly last year in Madden 17. And if I had to give an early owner award, I'd say this is guys going to be the first one to most likely be booted for not being around. And I'm just being real. I'm just going to be real on that. Oh, gosh. But the Seahawks, still have some talent with Russell Wilson, of course, leading them on offense. And then defensively, of course, the Legion of Boom is pretty much gone. But, there'll be some rebuilding that have to do there, but as long as you have Russell Wilson, you have a building block to build from, and that's the main thing in Seattle. And then finally, Eric with the 49ers, a really good dude. He's been here a long time. He's gotten better towards the end of Madden 18. He got into the playoffs, and he was playing better overall. So I think this is a guy, once again, didn't start out that well. I mean, he was getting beat a lot. And then he got better, and that transition is happening. And now, with the 49ers, who are a pretty good team, he's in a tough division with Cody and Ramon there. But, I think he could, break through, if things break right and his guys develop well. So that's the owners and league preview right there in the same little nugget right there. And this thing ended up being 45 minutes long. And I'll get it up and I'll release it tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, this is Ace Coach 704 PEL live, pre-recorded this week, but normally live. Signing off. Thank you for watching or listening or however you're enjoying this. Appreciate it. And just for a reminder, the league will start August 18th. We'll have another couple of lives before that, kind of going over some other things, and we'll see you then. Thanks for watching, guys, and listening.